Sometimes full moons come and go, but not this one. This is a once-in-a-lifetime full moon that initiates eclipse season and a new synodic cycle with Jupiter meeting the sun on the day of the full moon that will influence the next year of our lives and based on the world events that are likely to unfold because of the extraordinary number of intense aspects happening on this full moon, likely far beyond that year marker. A full moon is an opposition between the sun and the moon, so there's always inherent tension there, but there is not always a Jupiter-Pluto opposition happening at the same time, meaning that the moon is conjoined Pluto and the sun is conjoined Jupiter. And let's not forget that Juno is still conjunct that moon Pluto as well. Add on top of that, Mars in the superior square to Venus, and that moon Pluto in the superior trine to Uranus, which is also making a sextile to Neptune, but that almost feels like too much to add on at this point. Not to mention Saturn and Mercury are still in a square as well. And Neptune is trining that Jupiter between Aries and Leo. So it's almost as if every single inner and outer planet is engaged in a conversation around change, power and control, forces of dark and light, higher and lower archetypes of masculine and feminine energy, our dreams and ambitions, because of that Neptune trine Jupiter, Sun conjunction, and a time of material fulfillment that is really based on the hard work we've done to change our beliefs. Mercury, Saturn. Whoa, that is a lot at a full moon that will continue to impact our lives because this is the initiation of eclipse season as the nodes have just changed signs a couple of days before this full moon. So how can we work with this? How do we not be overwhelmed by this? What is it going to look like in our lives? And what are some concrete healing tools that can be of practical use at a time that is undoubtedly going to be an intensely emotional one? Because we've really got all the elements amplified and charged up right now, mostly fire and air with a little bit of water and a little bit of earth. And we know that our thinking is so related to our feeling world. It's a time to be especially on top of watching our self-talk and carefully considering our speech before we interact with others and have any kind of hard conversation. So let's get more into it. Hi, I'm Amy Rose White. I'm an integrative psychotherapist. I've been doing that for a couple decades, and I'm also a counseling astrologer. I've been in the mental health field for actually 30 years, and I make YouTube videos on concrete healing tools that align with the astrological movements in the sky. Please be sure and look below in the description to see all my free healing guides, my digital products, and links to book with me in August. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but all the astrologers, including myself, have been really busy lately. It's almost been too much to try to break these transits up into separate videos because there's so many and also too much to talk about all at one time. But in this full moon video, there's kind of no way around it because everything is at play right now. So let's start with that Moon Pluto Juno conjunction. Psychic insights, psychic revelations, and maybe a temptation to get lost in obsessional thinking at this time, especially about relationships because of that conjunction to Juno. You know, if you find yourself replaying themes of betrayal, memories around that kind of thing, jealousy, fear, suspicion, paranoia, or just constantly thinking about someone, that Mercury-Saturn square asks us to pull back the reins there and provide some structure to our thinking. You know, pull out our cognitive behavioral therapy worksheets. There's one that's great called a thought record. Or talk it out with your friend. Go to your therapist or coach if needed. Try really hard not to get lost in the spiral of thinking that can occur when Jupiter is opposing that formation, because Jupiter in this moment is really adding fuel to that mental process if it's coming up for you. Pluto's in an air sign. Or you may be the guide or helper, Jupiter on the other side next to the sun, for someone in your life who is getting lost in victim thinking or paranoia or just fear. And that can actually be a really good use of our psychic energy right now to be present for others who are feeling emotionally or mentally overwhelmed at this time and to be of service, helping other people get grounded. Which, by the way, really important to stay hydrated and literally have our feet on the earth this time because of so much air and fire. We can get kind of carried away and out of our bodies and sucked into impulsive or compulsive habits of disassociation that don't serve us. At the time of the Jupiter Cazimi, which is just when Jupiter meets the heart of the sun in an exact conjunction on the day of this full moon, we also have a symbol for the teacher, the guru, the wise one, and a protective force renegotiating. That's what it's doing with the sun, our ambitions and intentions in the area of our charts ruled by Jupiter and the sun. So check especially the Sagittarius and Pisces areas of your chart, which Jupiter rules, because they're a big part of the story that will unfold for the next year following this full moon and Jupiter Cazimi moment. There's something in our lives that has gained, where we've gained a lot more wisdom, clarity, and probably new information. That's part of how the ancients conceptualized any planet in conjunction with the sun as an auspicious time of purification and amplification of its power. So it's not a time, if it's safe for you, even if it's just for a few hours, to do some kind of purification or detoxing. Perhaps it's bone broth or soup for a day. But fasting is something we might want to consider, or even purifying our mind by doing a brain dump into a journal, just writing freehand or writing with our non-dominant hand, or doing a very gentle detox. With Pluto on the moon, we don't want to do anything harsh or too intense. We want to take it easy on our systems, as well as being really mindful of what we may be consuming, both literally with food, but also mentally. As Aquarius is an air sign, at this time of what information, what kind of energy, what kind of people are we hanging around? All that is going to be extra influential on what we carry forward from this moment. And it can be coming from more of a place of wisdom and healing, but Pluto on the moon does want to do that, but it's often going to do that by highlighting the amount of toxins actually that we have in our body, or the amount and the kind of toxic thoughts that we have, or the kind of toxic dysfunctional relational dynamics, especially with that conjunction to Juno, where we've allowed toxicity to take place in our life. And there's a pattern interrupt that wants to happen with Jupiter conjoining the sun, opposing that Pluto on the moon with Juno. There's a pattern interrupt that wants to happen with Mars applying to the square with Venus from Gemini to Virgo, where Mars is pretty neutral, but Venus is in her fall. So Mars at this moment can help us capitalize on the power of our minds in relationship to our health, Virgo, our attention to detail, and the way that we can be of service in the world, Virgo, but not at the expense of our own personal power, Pluto on the moon. We want to be mindful of Venus. We don't want to do that in a way that allows us to be abused or harmed or exploited or misled anymore. So we need to keep our eyes up at this time. It's very likely that if you are in any dynamics, friends, lovers, partners, business associates, where you've realized that things are not what they seemed and they're not healthy, fulfilling dynamics, it may very well be an exit time. If not now, definitely over the next year, where the wisdom from that Jupiterian renewal process with the sun allows us to carry forward so that we can create, Jupiter Sun's a very creative principle, a new life that is one with dignity and without self-betrayal. Pluto-Juno moon conjunctions want us to step out of that dynamic and into self-respect and self-love. With that Mars applying to Venus, we can actually sever ourselves, Mars cuts, from the mental ways, Gemini, in which we have not been a good partner to ourselves. And see the ways where we have not protected ourselves, the ways in which we've diminished the feminine principle in each of us, that receptive, changing, soft, allowing quality, where we might have cut those off, can be highlighted and reintegrated now. So we could make some radical changes around our own inner marriage that we have with masculine and feminine archetypes within us, but it will require something to change in our thinking and the way we treat ourselves physically, because Venus is in an earth sign and Mars is in air. So no more self-betrayal, no more inner child abuse, Jupiter in Leo. No more being mean to yourself. No more consuming things that harm us. Not because we should be super strict and rigid with our diet, but because we're being called to love ourselves, Jupiter and the sun. Love ourselves more than the need to numb our feelings, Pluto moon, or get a sense of control through addictive habits and processes, Pluto moon. I have Pluto, Moon, Mercury conjunct in my natal chart, so I know something about this. Those processes are really likely to be something we're able to finally to liberate ourselves from at this time. There is so much good fortune baked into this full moon Jupiter Cazimi moment. It's actually hard for me to articulate it. And there's really good reason to be excited about the potential for a really new way of being in the world, as this full moon is baked into the nodes just changing signs, Aquarius North, South Node Leo, for the next 18 months. And remember, the South Node is an energy of decline, and the North Node is an energy of increase in the Hellenistic and Vedic philosophies. But that doesn't mean you're going to lose everything in the Leo part of your chart. It just means that there's change afoot there, and a new way of thinking, doing, or showing up in that space that brings more balance to that tension. That's what's part of our destinies at this time. So whatever that is for you, it is a Jesus take the wheel moment. And if we can see that there is tremendous power of divine grace at hand because of the Jupiter Cazimi and the trines between Pluto and Uranus and Neptune and Jupiter at this time, man, you know that prayer, God or universe, show me how good it can get? This is the time. This is the time where we're going to see over the next 18 months how good it can get if we are willing to practice allowing for blessings, abundance, and happiness to fill our lives. And that's not just because of like, oh, all this money or love or certain things are going to come into our lives. It definitely could. But it's because of our ability to focus on the beauty that is right here, right now, the support and guidance that is here right now for us, and to learn Jupiter, to feel safe receiving that goodness that already exists, because then that much more can fill our lives. So your meditation for this Aquarius full moon is, if I were safe to receive, what would my highest vision for my life be? Your mirror work for the full moon is trust in yourself, left eye, tall spine, deep breath. Trust in yourself and the divine, and anything is possible. And your mantra for this full moon, along with the Jupiter Cazimi moment, is, I am willing to receive how good my life can get. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for subscribing. Keeps me going. Thank you for likes. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing so generously in the comment section. I cannot tell you how much I enjoy reading them. It's really meaningful to me. If you enjoyed this video, you'll like these two above me. And until next time, bye for now.